Hey, you're listening to Stop the Scroll, a social media marketing podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt. I'm a social media strategist and agency owner with over 15 years of marketing experiences helping businesses grow online. We'll be diving into what you need to know so that you can show up confidently online without the overwhelm. Get your notebook ready to jot down some amazing marketing gems, and let's dive into it. Welcome back to another episode of Stop the Scroll. I am your host, Heidi Schmidt, social media agency owner, strategist, marketing hero extraordinary. I feel like each week I've been coming up with new little taglines. It's funny because earlier today I was on the phone, or I was on a call with a client of mine, her marketing coordinator, and literally I was reminded of how amazing it is to be a part of a team. And, me being the agency owner, I'm not really part of the team. I'm part of the team, but also my content creators are very kind of siloed. Not intentionally. It's just, how things have been. And it's something that I'm actively working on. But we were talking about how hard it is to be a marketing team of one. I've been there. That was the early part of my career largely. And just talking about how completely overwhelming social media can be, which is really the theme of today's episode, my friends. Earlier, I was on a call with a group of business owners, and someone on the call was saying, I don't want to be a content creator. I don't want to be on social media. It's overwhelming and I don't like it. And here's my hot take. You do not need to be on social media. There, I said it. You don't need to be on social media to grow your business. Sorry, I totally got distracted by my laptop camera and felt the need to clean it. Oh my God, my screen looks so much clearer. So here's my little sidebar today. Totally just took a hot second. Mid train of thought. Who else? I feel like this is very much an ADHD thing. I was watching myself because I record my podcast into script, and maybe one of these days I'll share all of the tools that we use with my agency. And I was staring at myself and I was just like, God, why does it look blurry? It looks like there's fingerprints. And so I literally paused mid-sentence to clean off my camera. I talk a lot. It's really funny. I've been talking a lot about shiny objects, and here's my sidebar for today. And it's actually really relevant because sometimes social media is that shiny object, right? We have things that we see, new things pop up. And I use the example of a former consulting client of mine who literally, she wanted to be in all the places. And I kind of coached her on, how to repurpose things so that you're not always just, creating something new. Because if we're constantly creating, that's exhausting, right? And that's why so many business owners just feel exhausted by social media, because you always have to be creating. We've talked about repurposing before. I don't have to revisit that train today. Maybe I will revisit it sometime soon about how I have all sorts of fun new tips and tricks on how to repurpose content using AI. Specifically, hey, I want to repurpose this caption. Can you act as a high-performing social media manager and repurpose this for a carousel? Something along those lines. And give me on-screen text idea that tells a story. I have some ideas, man. Maybe that's another episode. Anyhow, shiny objects. So it's funny because I started talking about how earlier I was on a mastermind call, and one of my fellow mastermind members said she doesn't like being on social media and she doesn't want to market her business the way that she's been marketing her business because she's exhausted. Y'all, I get that. 100% I get that. Because it feels like we have to jump on every trend. It feels like, Instagram is changing constantly and we have to stay on top of it. And why do I have to do stories? Why do I have to do video? I just want to do my business, right? Me, I just want to work with my clients. I love my clients' social media. It's fun for me because, I am the expert, but I get to do all the fun things. So anyhow, my hot take today is that your business does not need to be on social media in order to grow. Is it useful? Absolutely. The audience size of social media alone is insurmountable. And is it useful? 100%. But is it essential? No, absolutely not. So here's what we're going to talk about today. What does a marketing strategy without social media actually look like? And what type of businesses would actually survive without being on social media? We don't all have to be on social media. I've got to pause this because my cats are about to start eating toes if I don't feed them. And then you're probably going to hear their crunchies in the background because I'm in my office and they eat in my office. Okay, we're back. We're back. So we're talking about who actually benefits from being on social media and who doesn't. So recently I read an article on Sprout Social that talked about the pros and cons of social media. And two, this conversation that we had on our mastermind really, really inspired me. And I have a new client who literally we are starting her social media from scratch. And when you're starting from scratch, like especially for clients, one, it can be really, really hard, especially if the client's not super engaged. Do you hear that? Do you hear my cat crunching? God, she's such a loud eater. Ugh. So if you're not doing the engagement that you need to do, and if you're not showing up authentically, then you're not going to get great results and you're going to be like, this is a waste of my time. 100%. I have seen it time and time before. The clients that don't last with me, that don't usually extend their contracts, which, there's lots of reasons for that. They are the ones that are not super engaged. And they're the ones that are like the set it and forget it. Like, oh, I've hired Heidi to do this. I don't need to do anything. Brush my hands, all the things. 100%. I've seen it before. I've been doing this for 5.5 years now. Long before that, in my agency life, like, I saw the same thing. Even when I was like a member of a team and not necessarily in agency leadership, but like, I've seen this before. I've seen it before, my friends. And it's not just true of social media marketing. It is also true of any sort of outsourced service that you do. Like whether it's, whether you're outsourcing your SEO, whether you're outsourcing whatever it might be, then chances are you're going to view it as not being valuable and not working. So I want to talk about some of the things that I really liked about in this Sprout Social article, which I will link to in the show notes. So one, and this is both a pro and a con. Like, one, there's lots of users. There are like 5 billion social media users worldwide. That's a huge audience potential. Now, we especially as more local service providers, have to look a little bit more granularly and think like, well, I don't need an audience of 1 million people. And I say that to clients when they're like, I want 10,000 followers. And I've had clients say that to me before. I love them. But I'm like, why? Followers don't equal sales. Likes are not leads. It's a simple fact. Like, anyone can go out and buy 1,000 followers. I've talked about this before. Hoo-wee. But the one thing that social media is really good for is that connection. And I mean, I am in the process of starting a social media account from the ground up with my campaign. And y'all, it ain't easy. But here's the difference. The difference between a business social media account is that you're constantly trying to sell. Like, you think that you have to always be selling. You do not always have to be selling, one. And I've recently kind of shifted a lot of my clients into more of that storytelling. And I think about it, and I was speaking at one of my collective lunches recently, and I was talking about, like, you have to bring people into your world. And for some businesses, that's easier than others. You have to build that connection. You have to work on that know, like, and trust, right? So with one of my clients, they're a coffee shop locally, and literally, like, yeah, we sell, we post pictures of the food. We're like, oh, isn't this a great way to like start your weekend with a nice cup of coffee and a breakfast pastry? We talk about that stuff because, one, it's like you want to influence people, right? But the reels are where we bring them into their world. We show off their personalities. We show off how fun they are. We show, like, this is the team. It's definitely more entertaining. And marketing, to a certain extent, and I used the example when I was speaking at the collective recently, that if you think about some of the best brands out there that are on social media, they're not selling, right? They're giving you this aspiration. And even like, think about some of your favorite influencers. Think about like your TikTok creators. Sorry, I just had a total sidebar. My cat jumped on my lap. She had her claws and I yelled some expletives, and we're trying to be family-friendly friends, okay? We're trying. We're trying really hard. This is why 9 times out of 10, I don't have my cats in my office when I'm recording. But they opened the door, and then they were insisting on kibble, and then she needed some pets, and her butt was right in my face, and there were dingleberries because cats are not clean, or at least she hasn't cleaned herself. Like, I don't know. This is just a series of so many distractions. Anyhow, talking about businesses who market themselves without really marketing themselves. So, and I go back to this example because one, like, it still like lives rent-free in my mind. Last year, Dunkin' Donuts had this amazing campaign. It was a spider donut, and it was literally like a donut, and it had purple frosting on it, and then it had like a chocolate munchkin in it, and it was designed like a spider. One, it was absolutely delicious. But the campaign that they did was not like, come buy the spider donut. No, they humanized the spider donut. They had the spider donut like basically take over their feed for like 2 weeks. And it was amazing. And that is the kind of marketing, that kind of like, I'm not saying like if you sell products, like you don't need to personify your planners. Like let's not go that far. You don't need to personify everything. But that's like literally the spider donut was like at the office, at the corporate offices. I'm going to find it and I'm going to link to it because it was seriously one of the best marketing campaigns that I've ever seen. But what they did was they brought you into their world and they entertained you and they like just made it aspirational. And when I think about one our favorite creators, because we all probably spend too much time scrolling on TikTok and Instagram. Like, let's be honest, right? Let's be immensely honest here. They bring you into their world, right? And I think about there is a Canadian fashion blogger that I've been like obsessed with. And she talks about how to up-level millennial favorite outfits. And she talks about like how to dress easily. And sometimes, and this is me probably oversharing, like I don't know how to dress myself. I wish I was more stylish than I actually am. But you know what? I wear the same like 10 outfits every week. If you see me at a professional event, I'm probably wearing one of 5 outfits because I don't know how to dress myself. That's just a fact. So I love watching like fashion lifestyle influencers because I want to feel as put together as them. And then I click on their links and they're not selling these clothes to me. They're just like, look, this is how I would put this together. And this is, a basic black pair of pants and how I want to wear it. And oh, I like those pants. Like, what pants are they? Let me click that link. They could be any black pants. They could be like $1,200 black pants like the Wall Street Journal tries to sell me, or they could be like $50 black pants from Old Navy. I don't know, but I want them. But she's not selling black pants to me. Like, anyhow, we are totally like off the rails here. Bringing it back in. So here's the thing. And I kind of disagree with this stat that's in the Sprout Social article because I have it up. I'm like kind of looking through it. And it says that social media can boost mental health. There was apparently a Sprout survey that said that 60% of all social media users say that social has had a net positive impact on their mental health over the last 6 months. I'm pausing for dramatic effect there. I'm not going to get political here, but I don't know if the writer in that article lives here in the United States right now. And that's for some of my political friends that I know listen to the podcast regularly. That's for them. That's a little shout out because I think you might agree with me there. Now, yes, social media can do all those things. It can build that connection. I love that on Facebook. I am Facebook friends with so many of my cousins up in Vermont that like they don't post that often, but like I still feel like we have that connection, So maybe it does build connection and maybe it does influence mental health like that. And maybe it does promote social change. We look at all the protests going on. Sure. Sprout also says that it's a source of real-time news and information, but some of that news and information isn't always accurate. So again, we're talking about the pros and cons of businesses being on Facebook. One, like we know that social media, again, I mentioned this earlier, has the potential to bring in lots of new audiences. It really can build that connection with your customers. One of my first social media jobs was actually working at a startup company, and I was in the customer service department, and one of the things that the department did was respond to customers through social channels, like on Twitter, on all these other platforms, And so I saw firsthand how social media can really be used to influence customer service as well as reputation management. So it also has this opportunity to build a community. Now, if you don't care about any of those things, or if you're like, you know what, like I have a smaller audience of clients, I don't need that. If you are a nationwide company, like you better have customer service that is paying attention to Twitter, because whenever someone like has a bad experience with an airline, you know where they go to get the fastest response? They go to like X or Threads or Facebook. Like they go to one of those platforms and they expect like snap, they expect a response. So what are like the pros of not being on social media though? Like there are lots of pros to being on it. Like we know that. We as business owners are allowed to have boundaries in our marketing. We do not have to be everywhere. We are allowed to say that doesn't serve me. I don't want to do that. It doesn't bring me joy. It's not how I want to use my time. I don't want to be there. We as business owners are allowed to say that. I want you to hold that with you. And like, if social media doesn't serve you, then it's okay to be like, meh. Like, I want to give us all permission, because social media can also instill a lot of imposter syndrome. It can instill a lot of like comparison trap. And we as business owners don't, especially like small business owners. I'm talking like it's you and maybe like 2 other people. Maybe you have a little bit more of a team, but you don't have a specific marketing team. You are allowed to be like, I don't want that. I don't want that in my life. We don't get clients from social media. Like, and this is why like it's really, really important to know where you get your clients from, right? Like it's important to know where they come from. Where are you building your community? Where are you building that base of loyal customers? It is easy to feel like we always have to be on. Oh my God, I saw this post today. I think it was on social media. Like, what if social media turned off at like 6 o'clock at night, like every other business in the world? Not every other business, but many businesses. Like, what would that do for our mental health? Even as business owners, like someone asked me recently, like how I maintain my mental health, and I do not scroll. I mean, I scroll, but like I definitely scroll because I'm always looking for like trends. What ideas do I have for new clients? All that kind of stuff. But I'm not like a doom scroller. And if I am scrolling, and more often than not, I'm scrolling on Facebook, which, God, the Facebook feeds suck. Can we just like talk about that? Hot take, like the Facebook personal feeds blow. They are like my least favorite. I feel like I'll be scrolling for like a minute and then like the same post will pop up. Like, I don't know what Mark Zuckerberg is doing to their algorithm, but it's trash. And if you agree with me, like please send me a DM on Instagram or drop me an email or something if you agree with that, because yeah. And the Instagram algorithm, it's better. I do like that they've personalized it with like the favorites and all that stuff. It's not that much better. But like when we as business owners, like we are allowed to have boundaries when it comes to our marketing. We are allowed to not always be scrolling. We are allowed to not always be on social media. We are allowed to, delegate. Like if you're like, hey, I definitely want to be on social media, like there are people that you can outsource to, whether it's a VA, whether it's an agency like mine, whether it's like hiring a social media assistant, whatever that looks like if you value it and what it does for your business, but you don't want to do it yourself, that is why 95% of my clients come to me, because they don't want to do it themselves. And they value it, and they value like how it increases their visibility, how it builds relationships with their customers, like all of that kind of stuff. Like it's not always the worst thing in the world. But that being said, if we don't want to be on social media, and there are businesses who do not have presence on social media, and kudos to them, honestly, like kudos to them. But if not social, then what? And this is where we're going to wrap up. So the cons, obviously, of like feeling like you have to be on social media, like one, it's rented space. Your kind of organic reach is often limited. So are you going to get a big bang for your buck? That's maybe. Obviously, time, talent, and tools. So we have that. But if not social media, then what? Owned media first. Invest in your email, your newsletter, invest in promotional emails, invest in your website and your SEO. I've got a girl who's fantastic at SEO. Like, I've got a girl, she's amazing. If you are a local, especially service-based business, invest in your Google business profile with photos, making sure that it's optimized, making sure that you're adding to it frequently, all of that kind of stuff. Those are two of the top ways to market your business. Now, if you're going to market in a newsletter, you have to have a way for people to join your newsletter. So make sure you're capturing emails from people. There's obviously partnerships. So are you doing co-marketing? Are you doing local events? Are you on podcasts? Do you have referral networks? All that kind of stuff is a great way to get in front of new audiences without worrying about the algorithm. So, some ways that you might want to invest in these things, like if you're like a local service-based provider, maybe like a therapist, something, making sure that your Google business page is optimized, that you have reviews, you have locations up, you have referral partners, doing quarterly workshops, doing webinars, that kind of stuff, and like a monthly newsletter. Those are key. If you're a service provider, like a trade service provider, maybe like an electrician or an HVAC, obviously you want to have Google business pages 100%. Having kind of a maintenance plan to keep customers coming back, doing local event sponsorships. I feel like with some of those industries, it's definitely the know, like you have to know someone and it's a lot of word of mouth, which is fantastic. If you're more like a tech kind of company, maybe B2B, having a case study, a library, a blog, SEO, all of that kind of stuff, especially for your services pages. Having LinkedIn, so focusing more on like LinkedIn as social and not all the other platforms. And then kind of like a quarterly email to maybe send like prospects or partners, that kind of stuff. Those are kind of other ways to think about marketing that don't rely as heavily on social media. So here's how we decide if we actually need social media. 1, here are 4 yes or no questions. And if you get 3 to 4 no's, then you probably don't need a social media strategy right now. Maybe it's something that you invest in a little bit later. Do your customers or your leads find you on social media today? So I want you to go into your Google Analytics and I want you to see, is there traffic coming to your website from social media? I want you to look like if you track where your clients come to you from, I want you to see if they are going to you from social media. If the answer is no, like, okay, maybe there's an opportunity there or not. I want you to look at your support capacity. Do you have the capacity to, 1, be engaged, especially if you're interested in Instagram? If you are not engaged, you're not going to grow. Like, that's just hands down. Like, any client that has worked with me that has not grown, and again, I've mentioned that I don't really do engagement for clients, largely because it feels inauthentic to me. I coach them on engagement. We do kind of monitor. So like I'll go in, maybe I'll follow people, maybe I'll like respond to a couple of comments, or I'll like and comment on a couple of pages, but it's not something that I do every day. I coach my clients. I tell them like, you just need 10 to 15 minutes a day to be in there. Like that's all that you need. You do not need to doom scroll for 1 to 2 hours to get engagement. There, I said it. Second, can you produce consistent content? Try to do it for 90 days without pausing your core operations. Can you say you're just getting started on social, like, can you post 3 to 4 times a week consistently, high quality content that's not just like AI produced content? People know if it's AI. Like, you can use AI as a tool, especially to like ideate and to maybe create captions, but you need to add yourself into it. Please, love of all things good and great in this world, let's stop using AI images. Can we please? I do not, nor do any of my team members, use AI images. And there's a reason for that. Again, authenticity is one of my core values. And, it's funny because I met someone at a fundraiser recently and they were like, what's your pitch? And I was like, well, I pride myself on my authenticity. They were like, every politician says that. With me, like, what you see is what you get, girlfriend. Like, what you see is what you get. I'm imperfect. And I live and die by authenticity, and that is what I coach my clients on, how to show up authentically without the overwhelm. And if a client ever wanted to use AI images, just mind-blowing. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Finally, do you have a way to look at your leads beyond just the vanity metrics? Do you have a way to tie revenue back to social media without the vanity metrics? Like, you cannot measure your social media success on likes, follows, all that kind of stuff. Those don't affect your bottom line. I always try to tell my clients, like, we want to see if we're reaching new people, if we're reaching new accounts. Are we growing our audience? Is our audience growing? If it's consistently growing month over month, that's great. That is great, my friends. If it's not, then, we shift our strategy. We look at, are you driving traffic? And sometimes there's more to the story than that. Like, I had a client who really didn't have much going on for a couple of months, and she's like, well, I'm not surprised that we didn't drive traffic from social because we didn't give you anything. And yeah, like, we still kind of promoted some of their case studies, all that kind of stuff. And so they were still getting traffic from social. It kind of stayed a little stagnant. And this is where, like I say, like, even if you're going to be on social media, you need to be producing high quality, organic, SEO driven content. Anyhow, I had a lot of digressions today, and I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry if this felt like it was all over the place. But if this resonated with you and you need some coaching around content, around strategy, we do have a couple of openings before the end of the year for consulting clients. That is kind of a one-to-one coaching, anything that you need on your marketing strategy, clarity on, whether you want help building out content calendars, whether you want content calendar review, all that kind of fun stuff. That is what my consulting packages really, really offer. We are not accepting done-for-you clients right now, but I do have a wait list, which is exciting. We will probably be accepting done-for-you clients probably after the start of the year. So if you know that that's something that you want to invest in January, like, schedule a call. And until next time, go forth, evaluate your social media. See if it's where you're really spending your time wisely, and create amazing content, not just on social media, but also on your website that stops the scroll. Leave a review, follow me on social, all the fun things, helps me connect with more people. And until next time, I will talk to you then.